Welcome to the Challenge Insiders, the premiere episode on reality pop. We've got a great panel here today with us. We've got Chantal Francis, who normally does all of our Big Brother content on reality pop, and Mike Lewis from the Mike Lewis podcast, who you may know for doing some interviews with some of these former contestants, some of them actually competing on this season. So he is the insider in this trio today, and we will definitely we'd have to watch out for him. I feel like he's the one to beat. Chantal, how are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. I'm a big challenge fan. I've been watching Real World and Road Rules in real time. So I've been invested in MTV's reality television shows from the 90s. And I'm really happy to see some of these people who I basically grew up with. And I'm always team OGs. I'm getting used to, the new format of the current seasons of the challenge. But it's going to be nice to go back and see how the people that I got to know play the game. So I'm really pumped to do this with you guys, and I'm really pumped for this season.
Awesome. And Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to jump right into this. As you alluded to, most of these, or at least some of these guests have been on my show before. So, it's nice to kind of dip my toes into this new format that they got going on this coming Thursday. Actually, way back when, couple of my guests and I pitched this idea and talked about it, and then to see it kind of then come to actual fruition is pretty nice to see. But I just hope that I got the best team. You guys can better watch it out.
I do think you're the one to watch out for. And out of the three of us, I am that person that I feel like new challenge fans might not like me as much because, I started watching the challenge maybe 3 or 4 seasons ago. The Big Brother, I guess players going over to the challenge is what got me into watching the challenge. So I'm one of those new school fans. But then I did go back and watch from Fresh Meats too until recent seasons. And I'm trying to watch some of these older school seasons. And I'm similar to what you said, Chantal. I'm really excited to see how the OGs do it because funny enough, Big Brother got me to watch the challenge. But currently I love a lot of the old school players who are not in this season. Players like CT, players like West Bananas. Those are the kind of players that I kind of fell in love with when I started watching the show just because of their showmanship. And in CT's case, I would have loved to see him sort of, rub shoulders to shoulders with these players this season. We do have our first comment on here, and Justin Pascal has said, I feel like Beth hasn't changed since her last season. I do know, Justin, I do know who Beth is because I've seen 2 of her recent seasons on Netflix that she played in, and it'll be interesting. I don't want to give too much away in regards to who's picking where when it comes to this, but I do have a strategy, even though I feel like that kid that crammed everything into the exam the night before, and now I'm going into it hoping that I'm going to have a good team here. Now, to explain to everybody how this is going to work, we're going to have a snake draft, so we're going to have 1, 2, and 3. 3 will also pick 4, and we're going to alternate between male and female, starting with female first. So Mike, being the newest person on the podcast, the newest member here, Mike, you get to choose where you go in this draft, and you also get to choose where Chantal and myself, where we will be going.
Well, I think it's only fair to kind of even the playing field a little bit here. So I'm the guest. I'll take 3rd. And since normally it's always ladies first, I guess we'll give Chantal 1 and then Chris 2.
Okay, well, no pressure, Chantal. You've got to start us off on this one, so no pressure. Where are we going?
I'm going to go with the little firecracker of Katie.
Ooh,
so
okay.
Katie, she's been on, I believe, about 9 challenge seasons. She's made 2 final appearances. She's won the Inferno. She started off her journey in this world with Road Rules, The Quest. So I just always been following her journey. She's always getting into fights. She's always, some people target her, but she comes out on top. She's just like somebody that just will never go away. And so I think that with her coming back here, we see in the trailer her talking to Trishelle, being like, that was 16 years ago, get over it. And so she's still got that fire in her that I want to see, how she does this season. So I think that she probably still got the bite and the bark.
Mike, any thoughts on Katie? You still there, Mike? Might have lost him. Okay. Well, for me personally, what I'm going to do is I just need to stop sharing my screen because I've got all my notes on the same screen that I'm sharing. I do like Katie as a pick. For Katie, I actually had her as my number 3 pick for the girls. So I feel like she is in that top 3. She still looks very fit. She's got a lot of experience of being in and like you just said, like being in the challenge. She's actually had 9 seasons, 1 championship, one final, 4 wins and 6 losses in eliminations. I do think counts for a lot because you do need experience when it comes to eliminations. And if you don't know what it feels like to be down there, there's a few players that this season haven't actually been in some of those eliminations. So I do feel like it is a good pick overall. Now, I do have to go for the second pick in this draft, and who I'm going to go for in this pick is going to be Kellyanne Juts. She's going to be my number 1 pick. Now, I know she hasn't actually won a challenge season so far, but being only 34 years old, I feel like she's one of the youngest people in this season, and this season specifically is going to be, and I know it sounds like, youngest person, we've got a lot of experience here, but I do feel like having a short season like this where you've only got 2 weeks that everybody's going to be doing these challenges, and the body doesn't recover that well when you get older compared to when you're younger. So we've got to think about the fact that this does look very physical. It doesn't look like it's going to be a gimmicky season where they're not going to do some of the impressive challenges that we've seen in recent times. So just to let you in on my pick, Mike, I have gone with Kellyanne for my first pick, and we've had for the first pick on Chantal, we have had Katie for that one. What do you think of, let's start off, if you can hear us, Mike, let's start off with Katie. What do you think of Katie as a pick? She would have been my 3rd choice, the one that Chantal went for.
I've always liked Katie. I think that she's definitely brought a unique side to the show. I think that maybe there's a stigma of like you've always got to be like a great competitor, but I feel like, not just speaking from a physical aspect, I think that she's had a different number of outlooks on the game from a social aspect and a political aspect too that's gone pretty under the radar as well. And obviously it's a reality TV show, so you got to bring some type of entertainment aspect of that, and I think that she's pretty much an embodiment of what the challenge is, honestly, and what it was bred on. And that's why seeing her on this all-star show is like probably out of females, just speaking about females, she's probably at the top of my list in terms of like who I would cast if I were to be on a drawing board right now and say pick one female. I'd probably throw her on the mix. So yeah, I could see her why she would be number 1 for sure.
Great. Okay, and with my pick, Chantal, for Kellyanne, what do you think of my first pick being Kellyanne for this draft pick?
I was going back and forth between Kellyanne and Katie as my number 1 and number 2. So she was my number 2 pick. She started off from the real world. So the one reason why I went with Katie is because I was always team road rules when I was first watching the challenge, because originally it started as a real world versus road rule, the challenge. And so I really gravitated towards those characters that were playing these games and going through these extreme measures and living on an RV. Like that's who I liked and I was really excited by. I still watched The Real World, but I thought that they were just kind of wimpy. They couldn't really handle the challenge. So that's why I went with Katie, because she started off because she had a drive for wanting to be on Road Rules, and Kellyanne started off by being on Real World Sydney. So she is really physically fit. She's been on 4 challenges, so that's awesome. She hasn't won a final, but she made it to the final of, I believe, the Ruins. So I think that she's a great pick. She's definitely in great physical shape. I'm not sure if she's like in a relationship right now, but she has been in relationships with people on the show, which has helped her and hurt her sometimes with like her social standing within the game. So hopefully she'll be able to make a connection with somebody. So I think it's definitely a great pick. She was my number 2. So good job.
Now, Chantal, is there any bad blood between Kellyanne and Anissa? Because I believe there was some fights back in the past. Because that's one of the things that made me sort of worry a little bit about choosing her, because I know that Anissa is probably going to be a big presence from a social aspect when it comes to this game this season. And I believe there was some issues there.
I don't remember. Honestly, Anissa has been on my screen for like 19 years, I believe. She's been in many fights with many people. So I can't remember offhand a fight between them. It does to me seem as though Anissa has at least really matured. I don't see her allowing herself to get caught up in that drama. She is I believe about 5 years older than Kellyanne. So I just don't know if Anissa will even engage in any sort of drama if they had something in the past. So I think they're good. Maybe they'll have a moment where it's like, let bygones be bygones. But I don't see it affecting Kellyanne's game. She's a fighter.
Yeah, and one of the other things that I did see going into the season is that we didn't see much of her in the trailer, and there's a bunch of the bigger players. I feel like we haven't seen much of them in the trailer itself, and I feel like if you're seeing a lot of players in the trailer, it could be a good thing or a bad thing at this stage, because it could be that they won't be there for very long, or it could be that they may have a very long longevity within this game. I'm hoping that it's the latter, and that she does have some longevity in this game. While we're waiting here for Mike to sort out some issues that he's got with his internet, it looks like we might as well go into a little bit about the trailer and about what we've seen so far for this season. Chantal, any thoughts on the trailer up until this point?
Loved the trailer. I got goosebumps watching it. It just reminds me of what I love about the show, and it is the OGs competing. And the reason why I fell in love with the challenge, because as I said before, it started off with the real world versus road rules. And so I like that competitiveness of like, are you team real world or road rules? And like, road rules are more badass. And so like, I always loved that. And then they're coming together, but these are just regular people. And that's, I think I've mentioned to you before, is what I don't necessarily resonate with the current seasons of the challenge, is that it's like America's Ninja Warrior meets the challenge now. It's a lot more, explosions and a lot more really big jungle gyms, and not the average person being really physically adept and able to complete. And yes, obviously you have like these physical specimens that are amazing, like Jenny West, of course, like she's an amazing competitor, but like, what I loved about the challenge was it was regular people that were competing on a show that are now taken out of their comfort zone and doing just things that like stretch them. And so that's what I kind of like about the challenge in general. But it does seem, though, that from the trailer that they are picking it up a notch and they're taking it to a heightened level. And so I am interested in seeing how these regular people, how they adjust to new age challenge designs. So it should be really cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's funny. It's probably one of the reasons why I think a lot of us have started falling in love with Big T this season, is because of the fact that she does come across as being that regular person she was put in this show with a bunch of absolute challenge beasts and physical athletes and Olympians and things like that. And even in this last episode where she did something that she never thought she was going to be able to do by jumping out of that plane, that's awesome to see. And I love seeing the growth. And I really felt an emotional connection with Big T when she made that, and obviously not being someone that hasn't watched the earlier seasons, I don't have that much experience with these regular people coming onto the show, but I do know that there are some pretty big physical threats when it comes to the game right now even, and some of these normal people have probably gotten bigger and stronger since the last time that they've played, and they've actually put a lot of effort into probably training and preparing for a season such as this.
Well, and even with how Anissa, she was saying on the current season, so Double Agents, she was like, I did the first pole wrestling. I did the first hall brawl. And like, I just even saying that right now, I got goosebumps, because it's like, these were the people that created the foundation of what we're watching today, that it doesn't seem like some of these people respect. Fessy. Like, they don't respect where they came from. They don't respect these people that actually, they did these challenges before they were these challenges. And so I like seeing, it's kind of like the heart. We're seeing the foundation. We're seeing where it all began and seeing how they are going to compete on this new landscape. So I'm super excited about it. I just say I can't wait. And it's just going to, how many episodes is it going to be?
I believe from what I've seen, it's going to be 9 episodes. So it's a really short season. And that's another thing. If we look at the seasons that we've recently been seeing with the challenge and the actual Yeah, double that amount. We've got 30 people playing it. It does feel like sometimes these seasons or these shows, they start losing steam towards the end of the actual season. And a lot of the time, the most interesting things happen right at the start, you know. I think what's going to make it interesting, like I've said, is the fact that we are going to have these guys do all of this in a period of 2 weeks. How will their bodies recover? How will they cope with this? That's going to be the interesting thing for me. And I think that for me personally, it's something I'm taking into consideration when I'm having these picks. Now, Mike, you are the next person. Did you have anything you wanted to say on Kellyanne as a pick? That's my first pick, just in case you've missed it.
Yeah, if I'm gonna be honest, that was kind of who I was looking towards. So you kind of took her off the board, unfortunately. But for your end, that's a great pick. I think that from just an objective standpoint, out of all the ladies who are competing, I think that right now Kellyanne is probably like most ready to run a final, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. That being said, she also, at times, kind of gets caught up a little bit with the emotions of the game and plays her game kind of on emotions, which sometimes comes back to bite her. But when she's got her mind's completely game alone, she's really tough out. I mean, she took a round from Evelyn, who's considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest, female competitor of all time on the Ruins elimination. So right there, I think kind of just speaks volumes a little bit. And in my eyes, she's probably the female favorite.
Yeah, so that's why I had her at number one. I was really glad when Chantal didn't pick her, but Chantal still had a good pick.
I'm wavering.
All right, Mike, it's up to you. Who will be your first pick and female pick?
So with the ladies available, I was kind of bouncing around a little bit between Ruthie and Kendall. The fan side of me would go with Kendall because over the last couple of years, she's been very responsive and nice to all the fans on Twitter. But the competitor side of me thinks that passing up on Ruthie here would be too big of a gamble. So I am going to take Ruthie here.
Great. Okay. Chantal, what do you think of that pick?
She was my third pick. Like, that's obviously, like, we have an idea of who's going to do pretty well up here. So Ruthie, she was always really fiery. She always had a lot of personality. And when she came to the challenges, she really came to win. And so with her haircut, even, it looks like she's ready to do some damage. I don't think that anybody that's coming back here is just doing this for a little vacation, which is what some people used to do back in the day. It's like they're going to go on holiday and like maybe win some money and like hang out, drink, and bikinis in the pool. But it looks to me like she's coming back to win, like most of the other people. They're older now. It's not like they're just going to come and hang out for a summer. So I think she's a great pick. I think that she probably did some training. I think that she would be a really good contender to potentially win this thing. So great job. Good stuff, guys.
All right. So, from my end, I actually had and you guys are gonna laugh at this. I had a number 7 on my one. I had no idea who she is. This is where my limited knowledge of the OGs are going to come into play with some of these contenders. Because looking at her, I was like, she's 43. She looks like she's in reasonable shape. 4 challenge seasons, 2 wins and 2 losses in eliminations. Statistically, she doesn't stand out to me, but clearly there is some things there that I don't know about her. So really interested to see how she does in this draft and in the season for you, Mike. Mike, so you're next with your male pick. So who would be the first male pick for you?
Well, on contrary to the female side of things, believe it or not, this decision was kind of a no-brainer for me because if anybody pays attention to my episodes, they'll know how highly I think of this individual. So I'm just going to go ahead and take Dorel off
Drat.
Biggest reaction so far. Chantal, tell us, how do you feel about this choice?
I love Dorel. Obviously, we're watching him right now on Double Agents. I'm not really happy with how, spoiler alert, he went out. I felt that the elimination was unfair. I'm like, where was the holding themselves in the dirt and like them having to, have some heart to get to the buzzer. So I do feel that he really could have won this season of Double Agents, and he's come back for a reason. And I think that if he's going to go and do this again, coming out of retirement here, like, I think that he really has what it takes to win it. And I think he's going to be more comfortable in his environment with playing with players that he just is more familiar with. He may not have been on seasons with them, but like that was the world that he was a part of. This new generation, he's not really a part of it. And so I think that he's going to feel comfortable with taking his position of top dog, and I could see him winning it, no doubt.
Yeah, Mike, so we cut over you a little bit there. Any additional thoughts on why you wanted to go for Dorel? You mentioned there that you rate him very, very highly. I think for obvious reasons. He was my number one pick as well. So good job on going third so you could get the first guy. It's a good choice for you.
Yeah, I think this was pretty much a no-brainer here, honestly, because as we know, he's undefeated in finals that he's been in. And, from what I've gathered, people even pegged him to, if he got to the Double Agents final, probably win. So if that's the measuring stick as to how we view him as a competitor, I don't see any way that he would not win this final had he be there. And obviously these are people that know him better than the people who he competed with on Double Agents. So he's probably going to have even more of a social in with those OG people. So I could definitely see a world in which Dorel kind of just skates to a final here.
Yeah, and I think that, when I wrote down notes on Dorel was my number one pick as well. One of the few players I know pretty well since he's actually come back and played in recent times. And, just looking at him, I think the only weakness, and you guys mentioned everything, the 4 championships, the back-to-back, never lost the final, all of those things that make him extremely appealing. The fact that it's a one person takes all season, so it's only going to be one winner. I think we all think there's a good chance it could be a male that wins this thing, we don't have Cara Maria on here to come and beat all the guys. So in the history of the show, it hasn't happened that often. So you'd think it would be one of the guys. I think Dorel's pretty good across the board. The only thing in the seasons that I've watched of him, and funny enough, I haven't seen any of his winning seasons. I think his only weakness is puzzles from what I've seen. I know he beat someone in a puzzle as a Joss this year, or someone else in a puzzle this year. Actually, it was Devin in a puzzle. Devin. But yeah, which is pretty decent because Devon's not bad at puzzles, but I felt like it was a pretty easy puzzle to do. So I don't know if Devon just, completely freaked out because he was going up against the GOAT or what happened there. But I feel like that's his only weakness coming into the season.
Absolutely. Heights, he's a little, from what he said, afraid of as well. But, more than likely you're not going to see anything heights related come final time. So puzzles are pretty much the main problem for him if he gets there.
All right, Chantal, we're back to you. Who is going to be your first male pick?
Isn't it you?
I think
I went first.
Oh, you did go first. So it's me. Oh, yeah, great. Thanks for being honest. So I will grab someone here off the board who I was in and out between these two people, being one of the younger guys in this season. And for me, when it comes to choosing someone, I like to choose people with heart. So similar to choosing Dorel that had a lot of heart, I think this person's got a lot of heart. I will never forget when he went up against Josh in pole wrestle. It will have to be Derek K for this position. Now, I know with Derek, he's a bit of an explosive character, but what I do know with him is that he is pretty solid across the board. He's got a pretty good reputation in the challenge, having had 3 championships. I do think that socially, he's probably better connected socially at the moment than what he's ever been in any of these seasons before because of the fact that he's got a podcast. He does talk about the show quite a lot. He's got people coming on there quite a bit. Total record for him, from what I can see, is 3 championships wins, 5 finals in 9 seasons. That's pretty impressive, and he's also a player that I actually know. So it's better the devil you know than the devil you don't know. Mike, what do you think of Derek K and his chances, and what do you think about the pick for me as a whole, being my first pick as a guy?
Well, you just said it. I mean, in terms of social connections, the only guy that would probably have more of an in socially than Derek would be Mark, because he's the guy who set it all up. But Derek's right then after Mark in terms of who's going to have most of the social game and political pull in the house. He kind of falls under a similar category with Dorel, for me at least, in terms of how I view them as kind of competitors. Derek, same thing. He might even have more of a bit of an Achilles heel, though, when it comes to puzzles. So being that this is individual, we've seen Derek's wins kind of come on team formats where other players have been allowed to kind of take a little bit of the burden off of him with the puzzle aspect of things. His other final when he was individual was on Dirty 30. He finished second to Jordan. No slight there, because not many people can beat Jordan in finals, at least in my opinion. So I think that Derek, if he gets to a final, definitely has a very good chance to win. But I'm interested to see how he holds up, seeing as how it's going to be a individual setting.
Fair point there. Now, Chantal, what do you think of Derek's chances this season?
I mean, was in my top 4. I'm still kind of bouncing around. I don't even know who I'm going to pick next. So I was considering maybe picking him if I had him in my next pick. So I think he's definitely a great pick. You know, if they're going to be asking him to come back as a mercenary, like, I think it's because it shows that he can get things done. And he did win in when he came back and beat somebody that was playing that game. So he has tons of heart. He has the wins. He has the drive. I'm not sure if he has the social kind of aspect of it. I think that if I'm not mistaken, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, he might be a parent now. So I don't know if he's in the same kind of vibe now as he used to be when he was playing originally. And he didn't even make an appearance on a Sequester mini this summer, and he was out first. And so I'm wondering if he still has those social connections and able to get people to want to keep him in the game. I'm worried that he might be someone that goes to many eliminations, and maybe there's going to be one eliminations that he doesn't come out on. So if he gets to the end, he has a great shot. I'm just not sure about his path getting there. I think he might be, targeted early.
And I could be missing something here, but I do believe Derek and Dorel have had some good connections in the past, and they've worked together in the past. So I do feel like he is connected, and at when it comes to that aspect of the game, I do feel personally, because of his podcast, he's more connected now than what he used to be. From listening to his podcasts, he doesn't come across as a very big strategic mastermind. So I do know that there's a good chance that he's going to get thrown into a lot of eliminations, and I do think that he can survive a lot of these eliminations, being only 37 years old. I feel like if Derek has a good season here, he's kind of like a few other players this season. He's kind of doing a little bit of an audition for getting back into the actual challenge shows. And I feel like he's someone that can come back. I still feel like, if you've still got CT playing at 40, you still got Dorel playing at 41 or 42, whatever age he is at the moment. Why not bring another OG back to go up against Fessy and put him in his place? And who else would you want in there than the Pitbull himself?
Well, I also think, though, that this season is going to be so epic that all those newbies are going to be like, I want to be an OG. I want to be on the All-Star season. And so I think that it's going to be reversed. I don't think that they're going to be clamoring to go on the regular season. All the newbies are going to want to be an OG. So that's what I think.
Chantal, what's the quest that Derek play in?
It was against reality. It's Sequester Mini, so it wasn't the live version. It was an online version. It was in the summer. It was probably maybe September or so, and I think it was like Battle of the Reality Stars, because there's people from many different reality shows. So there's some people from Survivor. There's some people from Big Brother, and then other. So
okay, Chantal, you're up next.
I don't know what to do here, guys. I really, really, really don't know what to do. And I also don't want to tell you who I'm fluctuating between, because I don't want you to take him if I don't. Okay, I think I'm going to go with Alton.
Alton, okay.
Alton, he's played 4 challenges. He's been to 3 finals. He's won the Gauntlet 2. He's from the real world Las Vegas, the second one, I believe. And so he's going to have Arisa in there with him, who I believe was on the same season with him. So he's going to have some familiarity with playing this game with somebody that he already knows. He's a pretty good competitor. He has a lot of stamina, if I'm not mistaken. He's very likable, and I want to see him do well. So I think that people will probably be scared to go up against him because he's really athletic and he has big muscles. So I'm hoping that people will leave him alone because they like him and they're scared of him. And if he gets to the final, he has a good shot at winning it. So I'm going with Alton.
Mike, what do you think of that pick?
Yeah, absolutely. I from just a pure physical aspect alone, I mean, in terms of actual performance-wise, Alton, just from physicality alone, is probably top 3. You can make an argument in terms of just pure competition-wise performer. I mean, you look at some of his feats of strength over the years with, I think it was the Gauntlet 2, where it was a kind of like you had to climb up a net, I believe. It was an elimination round where he faced Adam, and he finished the thing in probably 10 seconds. So he's a very good climber. As you just mentioned, great shape still. And I think that he'll be good in this kind of environment because his last season he did was Battle of the Seasons, when it was kind of like a lot of new blood and not a lot of old blood. He didn't really know a lot of people there. So he that environment didn't really suit him, I guess. But for this, seeing as how he's back with a bunch of people he's used to playing the game with and he knows, I think his head will be more in the game. And he's definitely got to be one of the guys to watch out for. So I think this is a good pick. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, so I had Alton pretty high as well. I'm probably similar to you, Chantal, where there's about 3 guys that I put all in the same bracket, Alton being one of those 3 guys. But I definitely thought that, I don't know much about his past seasons, but I definitely saw that he looks really physical. He's got a good record in eliminations, which I feel like with eliminations, you have to know what it's like to be down there and actually win it and go through that pressure to do well. And there's a few people this season who have never experienced eliminations before. So I do feel like he will do really well in this season. Now, I do believe that I will be doing the next pick at this point.
I think I'm next.
Oh, sorry, you're the next pick. Sorry,
I'm next.
Keep getting it confused. You keep me on track, Chantal.
I will. So I'm next with the 4th female pick. So I'm going to go with Kendall. So Kendall Shepherd, she's only played on, I believe, 1 season. But she was really, really, she made an impression. I think that she's going to have a lot of fight. I think she's coming back for, she's not going to say yes to not win, especially since she's not as popular potentially as some of these other players. But if I remember correctly, she has stamina. I think she was doing a balance beam one where she just carrying bricks back and forth. And I think that was her, I could be wrong. And she just doesn't quit. She was in a relationship with The Miz, which I think is kind of hilarious. So I don't know. She might bring some drama and some spice in there as well. I think she'll be underestimated. I don't know if she's going to have the friend relationship. So socially, she might not be okay, but hopefully because it's an OG season, maybe the older people, the older seasons will kind of get together and protect each other. So I think that she physically has a really good shot of doing well in the game, and I want to see how she competes. So I'm hoping the best for her. So I'm taking Kendall.
Oh, I love that pick. You absolutely killed me on it because she was my second pick. If I had her, then I would have had my number 1 and 2 pick for the girls for this season. I don't know much about her past seasons. I did go and do a little bit of research, the little bit that I could. I did see she's only played in 1 and obviously don't know the show she did before that. But she physically, looking at her on Instagram, she's physically in really good shape at the moment. She's doing a lot of things like yoga or Pilates type of exercises. You know that she's going to have good core strength. She's going to have good balance. She looks athletic. I think it's a good pick overall. Well done on that pick. You definitely stole it. So you're going to make it a little bit harder for me going into the next round. Mike, what do you think of Kendall being Chantal's pick here?
Again, another good pick. She was, like Chris just said, probably going to be my next girl pick had she fell to me in the draft. Yeah, I think that I mean, she's got Dorel, who was actually from her road rule season of Campus Crawl, so he'll probably, in all likelihood, I'd at least like to assume, do a pretty good job of keeping her safe. I know that she could use that to her leverage a little bit. She'll probably have a pretty good relationship with Derek as well, because I think she went on one of his live shows for his podcast, if I'm wrong, or if I'm right. And just from a physical standpoint, her, Kendall, Kellyanne, and Ruthie are the three girls that I would put at the top in terms of, being in, like, physical shape and, like, suited to run a final. So I like it.
Okay, so keep me on track here, Chantal. I'm picking a girl next, right?
Correct.
I'm really in three minds between who I'm going to choose here, and I feel like all of the top girls, the ones that I think have got a realistic shot at winning this show, has already been picked. In my opinion, I just feel like there's a lot of people here that potentially could be out of their depth a little bit, not having played the show for quite a long time, and just how physical these new seasons are. So now it comes down to choosing someone that I think could make a final, but I don't know if she could win the final, or it comes down to someone that I think in past seasons have never impressed me in the seasons that I've seen her play, but I feel like being someone that's a bit on the younger side for this season could do pretty well. It's kind of where I'm sitting at the moment on this one. I'm going to take a risk. I feel like I need to take a risk here because I don't have the history of the show that you two have with the past contestants. So I am going to go for someone that I never in a million years thought I would choose at any draft pick, and it's going to be Jimmy. And the reason that I'm going to go for her is because she's one of the younger girls. She's 32 years old. I know she's played in 7 seasons. She's only had 2 wins in eliminations. She's had 4 losses in eliminations. I'm hoping that those 4 losses is so engraved in her mind that she absolutely hates it and does not want to see the elimination this season, and that there's no skull twist. We can always put that out in the universe. And I'm hoping that she's going to make it far. I have seen in the trailer that she does look to be hooking up with Nehemiah. She does look like she is really active on social media. If that's a good or a bad thing, I don't know how that's going to sit with these OGs, but I'm going to take a big risk here, and I'm going to go for Jimmy. Mike, what do you think of that pick?
I think she's a very smart social and political player, definitely. I did notice from the trailer, too, she seems to be arguably in the best shape she's ever been in on one of these shows. Now, I wouldn't put her near the top of the 3 other girls that were picked before her, but yeah, she's probably in peak physical condition. I'm pretty sure she was training or being trained by Rachel, who is a former champion of this show and one of the best females. So there you go. I mean, she's going to be ready to compete, and she seems like she's bringing a lot to the table from what I could tell. So I
Chantal?
think it's a good pick.
Oh, sorry.
She wasn't up for me like next. She was a little bit near the more than middle for me. I think it's just a good pick for the fact that she has been working out. There's been a lot of videos of her at these kind of like crazy CrossFit kind of gyms, jumping on playing around with medicine balls and jumping on boxes and stuff like that, things that would be really beneficial for her training for the challenge. I do think that she is smart enough to come back for this one with the goal and the win in mind. And so I do think that she is capable of doing that. She has made it to, I believe, 2 finals, that means that she's capable of getting there. And if she's been doing the work physically, I think she's capable then of winning as well. As long as it's not like having to swim through ketchup, I think that she could be doing okay. So if you didn't know, Chris, she's terrified of ketchup.
I didn't know that. But this was really I was going back and forth in my mind between her and one other person here. But I just feel like I need to roll the dice here to have a chance. And because she's younger, I do feel like, and I'm again going to reiterate it, these challenges being so short in succession and there not being a lot of downtime in between challenges, I do feel like recovery is going to be important. And her being on the younger side, I'm hoping that plays in her favor. Now, keep me on track here, Chantal. We're going to Mike next for the next pick. And
Next female.
Next female. So, Mike, next female from your end.
I was tossing around a couple different ideas, but then I feel like the positives of the potential picks, I then look at the negatives and I'm like, they're not enough to persuade me into not picking someone who's currently doing the shows. So that's why for this pick, I'm probably gonna have to go with Anissa, just off the sheer fact of she's still doing it. She's still heavily involved. She's much more acclimated than maybe some of the other ladies that'll be up for choosing that remain. So I think that she might have an in politically, and I'll take Anissa for this one.
Yes, she was the other person I was going for. It was between her and Jimmy. Anissa, I've got all the respect in the world for her. I feel like she is super good at puzzles. She's super good at the physical aspect of the show. The one thing that I think does come up quite a lot is how will she do in a final? But we don't know what this final is going to be like in this season and if it's going to be a massive endurance challenge or anything like that. So it could be that this is a really, really good pick for you. And I do think politically she is really well insulated within this specific cast. I do think we'll see her towards the end. I do. In reality, and I know she's not in my team, but I do hope she does make that final because I know she really wants to make another final. And I hope that this is the season for her and that she gets it. It'll be interesting to see if she actually does come back and play in more regular seasons after this, or if there is future All-Star seasons, would she now start gravitating more towards the All-Star seasons moving forward? Chantal, what do you think of Anissa?
I mean, she's in the same. I think we're all in like there are middle pickup players right now, and so she was kind of. I wasn't sure who I'd pick next. She was in around here with Jenny and who I'm going to end up picking, and so I think she's a great pick for the fact that she's still involved in the game, so she has her mind in the game. She knows that she was super close again to another final, and she. If she wants to change that narrative, this might be the show that kind of changes that narrative for her to be able to get to the final. We know that it's going to be just one winner. One winner is winning $500,000. So this whole maybe team thing might not be a factor. I don't know if they're going to be in teams or stuff like that leading up to the final, but we know that the final is they're doing it by themselves. And so hopefully that's going to be good that people won't try to get rid of her. They're going to want her in the final because if they think that they can beat her, at least she's going to be able to get there. So I do think that her chances of getting to a final are a lot better than like in this season than has been in the most recent regular challenge season. So I think she's a good shot. I'm not sure about her shot to win, but I think that she'll get to the final.
Okay. Mike, so you're up next with a male pick.
So, I usually don't like to go basic here, but, I'm kind of being tempted right now because I'm looking to go bold, but then I'm like, and I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Mark Long, he's got a guaranteed final spot if I'm just going to keep it 100. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, I can say right now, Mark Long is going to be in this final. I never see him getting voted into any eliminations. I mean, that was his big thing during his original tenure is that he never saw an elimination ever in his entire career until that final elimination of his last season. So if that's what it was then, I can only imagine it being even enhanced now, considering he kind of put this whole thing together. So I think it's too big of a risk to pass up getting him on my team. So I gotta take Mark here.
No, it's a good choice. I mean, Mark Long was my third highest ranked man coming into this, and if I had another opportunity, which I will have after your pick, I would have gone for Mark Long as well. I don't know any of his original seasons. I only saw him come back once. I believe it was in Battle of the Exes, was the only season that I saw him play in, and in that specific season, he only went into elimination. I feel like he kind of volunteered himself, if I remember correctly, and he ended up losing to Johnny Bananas, who that's one of the best players to ever play the game, right? So it's not a massive humiliation. The one thing I will say, because there's obviously a lot of positives to him having been one of the people who've brought the show back or brought the challenge OGs brought it into fruition and actually having this season. I will say that, he's only been in one elimination. So again, you have to be in eliminations to know what that's about. But again, the positive is, like you said, Mike, he is very well connected socially. He still looks in amazing shape. If I could look like that when I'm 49, hats off to him. His arms are bigger than my calves. So, I wouldn't want to face him in a hall brawl for sure, So good pick, Mike. Chantal, what do you think?
I was fluctuating between him and Alton, obviously. He's going to get to the end. Even if it's just the respect level that he's brought this opportunity to all these people, I just don't see people being that cutthroat and vicious to get him in an elimination and get him out there, considering he gave them the opportunity to make $500,000. So I think that alone will allow him just to bypass a few elimination rounds. I think, I just watched this summer, I watched Road Rules 1 again, and he was 24 on there, and he was just such a likable character, and it was before he became the challenge mascot, we'll say. And I think that he still has it. I think that he still has the ability to make friends. He's a really likable guy. He's physically fit, and he knows what it's like to get to a final, and he knows what it's like to win. So I think that he's, excellent pick. I think that he will be in that final, and I would not be surprised if he won it. Not at all.
I agree. Excellent pick. And I believe I'm going next with the next pick here. And the next one's going to be a guy for me. And the guy that I'm going to go with is the other half to the whole thing that I just did with Jemay. And I'm going to go with Nehemiah Clark. Sorry, bit of a tongue twister there. He's only 35 years old. He looks in very good shape at the moment. So he's one of the younger guys. You guys can probably see there's a bit of a theme here in my picking. And he's got one championship win in 4 seasons. 3 wins and 3 losses in eliminations. I like the fact that he's been in eliminations before. He knows what it feels like to lose and what it feels like to win. And I feel like him and Jemay being sort of connected here could either be a really bad or a good thing. But in most cases for these challenge seasons, it seems like when there's a couple in the show, it ends up being good. So I'm going to hope that it's good and that they actually work well together towards the later part of the season. And again, I'm reading a lot into what I've seen in the trailer here. But I do think that he is one of those guys that if he has a good season here, we could see him back on the actual challenge seasons moving forward as well. So I feel like having that extra carrot out there for him is really going to drive him to have a good season this season so far. Chantal, what do you think?
Decent pick. He was my number 5. Absolutely. The one thing though is that he didn't used to want to play politically. And so he didn't like the strategy side of the game. And so I'm wondering if he will get out strategized by a lot of these people that are playing to win. And so the fact that he's coming back and it's been so long since we've seen him, is a good sign that he's going to come to win, and he's going to change up the way that he plays. But if he goes back into what he's used to, he had a little fling thing with Beth in the duel. If he kind of gets in that kind of, reminder of how he used to be, that might not bode well for him in the game. I could see him being someone that's put into elimination often, but I think that physically he's excellent. I think that if he can get to the final, he could win. I'm just not sure about his path.
Mike.
Definitely a dark horse pick, a sleeper pick, because he's one of those guys that's his reputation, I feel like, is sneaky underrated, and he kind of just flew by the radar a little bit in this draft. I feel like he can surprise some people, but like Chantal said, he's got a little bit of a stigma to him in terms of being a little hard-headed socially. I feel like he oftentimes tries to play the lone wolf type of game where it's me against the world, and that kind of like doesn't really bode well for him in the past. We saw in both duels, so it's going to be.
Is he kind of like a lesser capable Jordan Wisely?
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jordan's a little bit more strategic, though, I think.
Definitely
Okay.
A little more strategic.
Okay. I believe we move on next to Chantal with her next pick here.
Okay, I'm going with this guy because of the trailer. I can't remember exactly what he says in this trailer, but he's kind of yelling like, I want to continue my legacy or something to that effect. And that, I want to see that kind of heart in my team. He's coming back for a reason. He's coming back to prove something. He's on the older side for sure, but Cyrus, he's played in 5 challenges. He's originally from Real World Boston. He's a 2-time finalist, 1-time champ. So he knows what it takes to get there. He knows what it takes to win, and he's not coming back without a paycheck, taking home the paycheck. So I hope that he can take all that fire that we saw in that trailer, and hopefully that's a nice edit that's showing a winner's cut there, and that he's going to take that final spot.
Yeah, with Cyrus, for me, one of the things that sort of stood out in the trailer is that, they're making it sound like he's got a bit of a legacy to protect, or a legacy that he wants to build on. I'm always worried about players getting too much screen time in the trailers, because I don't know if it is a good thing or a bad thing, because sometimes you might get the best in the trailer and they might off that specific person, but they might hide the players that are actually going to do well long term, because we've got a lot of big hitters that we don't see in the trailer. Some of them we've already selected in this draft, others we might still need to select, but I do think that he's probably going to be, and again, I don't know the connections here because I haven't seen this season. He's a very OG player, but I do feel like being in that same age bracket as Mark Long, he probably has some sort of a connection with Mark Long, or they would have crossed paths at some stage throughout their careers, at social events and things like that. So maybe being close to the person, or close to that age to the person who's actually put this whole thing together, could be a very positive thing, and they could work very well together moving forward. Wouldn't you say, Mike?
I know from experience and watching and kind of like being in the whole social media type of setting, I know that him and Derek are very close and chummy. Past challenge Cyrus's actual last challenge he did, him and Dorel were actually very cool and civil with each other. So I think that socially, and from what I know, Cyrus has always been kind of like the life of the party type guy from when all the cast members would go on like appearances, places. So he's definitely a fun guy to be around. So I could definitely see that serving him well. But exactly like you said, when it comes to the trailer and being shown a lot, Jordan on the Dirty 30 trailer wasn't shown once, and then he ends up winning the entire thing. So I definitely think that myth is definitely a thing. I don't know. Interesting.
Okay, my fingers across them here. Okay, so my next female pick, I'm going with a train wreck team. I think this is where it's going now. I mentioned her when I was talking about Nehemiah. She's definitely up there in the age category. She may be the oldest person on this season, but she doesn't take no shit. She likes to compete. She's never been very good socially, but I'm wondering if there's other people that have other beefs and that she'll be able to kind of get along with people, hopefully. All the people that she's usually fighting with, I don't think any of them are on here. I can't think of any of them right now. So she's been on 7 challenges. She started off with Real World Los Angeles Season 2. I'm going with Beth. I know that she's a bit of a mess, but she's not a bad competitor. And I feel like I've seen her, I believe, in some social media stuff with Cyrus. So she does still have a friendship, I think, with him. I don't think that she would say yes to coming back. as I said with a lot of these people, like they have lives, they have families, like they're married, they're living their life. So to come back, I don't think that she at 50 years old is going to come back without wanting to actually win and maybe prove something that she hasn't been able to prove in the last 25 years. So I know it's a risky pick here, but I would still be scared to go against Beth in like a hall brawl or some sort of physical elimination. I think that she's still a tough cookie. So, Beth.
Okay. I didn't have her for a while still, but because I've seen the 2 seasons on Netflix, which I believe is The Duel and The Inferno 3
in The Duel.
that she played in. Yeah, I think she was in that one as well in the beginning of it. But with that specific seasons, she's never really fitted in with the girls that well, and she was always seen as the big antagonizing person within that season. So I don't know if she'll do that well. Beth said, let's have a look here. So Beth said for a long time that she wants to come back. So who knows? So if she's hungry to come back, we want to see it. She's got a really tough ask here because she's, I believe, in her 50s, 52 or something like that.
I think she's 50.
Yeah, so she is the oldest person in the season. So it's going to be a tough ask for her. Like I said before, I feel like this is going to be demanding on these players because the challenges look like they're not going to hold back. So I want to see how people recover in between challenges. As someone that's played a lot of sports before, I know what it feels like the day after, and if you're 52, you're not going to recover like someone that's in their 30s or in the early 40s. What do you think of this pick, Mike?
Yeah, she say she didn't fit in with some people would be a little an understatement. She's good TV though. She's entertaining. I mean, but that being said, I don't know. It's a bit of a target. I don't know how people are going to perceive her when she sees them again. Obviously, it's probably been a while since she's seen a lot of these people. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe things will be different. I'd like to hope after all these years and people growing up and whatnot. But we'll see. Yeah, but from a physical aspect, if it's just head on, there's not a lot of females there that I feel like I would necessarily take over her. So it's an interesting pick for sure.
If you don't like it, just say so, okay? My feelings won't get hurt.
Here we go, Chantal. Like the thing at the end of the day is, the choices that you've made doesn't really make it any easier on me when it comes to whoever is left here, because I don't feel like, and I know it sounds really bad, but I just don't feel like we've got the winner left in these picks that are here. And I would love for someone to clip this at the end of the season and play this back and say, Chris, you're horrible, you're a disgrace to the challenge, never talk about it again because you were wrong. But I just don't think that the player is in here. But I'm going to go for who I think. Again, there's a trend with the players that I'm picking here. I'm going to continue with that trend here. And I'm going to go for someone that I don't think she can win it, but I do think she can go deep into this because I do feel like she's got a good relationship with someone like a Jemay, which might bring a good relationship in with a Nehemiah. Like Nehemiah, like you said, might not be the strategic mastermind, but if he does end up hooking up with Jemay, she could be that brains for the both of them, and he could be the muscle behind it that could do really well in the show together. I'm going to go for Janae on this one. She's 32 years old, still the youngest female there. I know she's just had a baby and that physically she might not be in the peak at the moment or in sort of the peak of her career when it comes to athleticism and things like that. And I do remember seeing her in seasons and never really thinking that she was a threat to win any of the seasons that she was playing in. But I do feel like I said, if you've got lemons, you've got to make lemonade. So that's what I'm trying to do here at the moment. And Janae is going to be my next pick. Mike, it looks like you've got something to say on that.
No, yeah, I actually like that pick a lot. She, from growing up, she's been on most of the seasons I could recall. So it's definitely a lot of familiarity there for me. Definitely someone who I would have liked to get on my team. But as you alluded to, I mean, she's, I think, 7 months postpartum or whatever it is, that she just had her baby. So that is, it could be a little bit of an Achilles heel, but, I think that she's done a couple shows with Jemmy, like 4 challenges, I believe. So she'll have that in. And Jemmy is close to Trishelle. So that's another number. And then obviously the Nehemiah. So it's a whole big spider web effect here, essentially. And I feel like socially, John A has somewhat of an in with a lot of the people there. And she's notoriously gone at least midway, I think, on if not towards the end, on most of her seasons that she's done. So solid pickup.
I feel like it's going to go either or for me in this season because I'm picking people that are going to be connected. So if that alliance goes very quickly, what I think is going to be an alliance, I might sit with no players towards the end of the season. But I'm going down this road. I'm committing to it, similar to how Derek would be if he was to go into a pole wrestle, and I'm just going to keep going at it. Chantal, what do you think of the pick?
I mean, I like Janae. I'm always rooting for her whenever she was playing, but she's never really come through for me. And so that's kind of like why I didn't pick her before Beth, is that like she's never, like I've never been like, you could do it, come on, save yourself, like, and like just been cheering for her, and then she comes through with that satisfaction that you want as a viewer. And so I don't find her to be reliable in getting it done. So, but her being set up socially is really great. She's always been great socially. That's always what's helped her get to, as you said, Mike, to the halfway point of the game. I just don't know if she has the physical capability to get to the end, but I really like her. I want to see how she does. I want to root for her. So hopefully she'll prove me wrong in the sense that she will come out and snag a couple of elimination wins or whatnot if her life is on the line. So I like her. Decent pick. She was my next pick. So
fingers crossed, I'm hoping for the best. If she does go into an elimination, it's going to be tough. And I'm going to have to hope that she goes into someone that is in even worse shape at this stage going into the game. But it's going to be tough. So I'm hoping that she makes it quite far in the season. Now, Chantal, you've got the next female pick.
No, it's Mike.
Oh, it's Mike. No. Oh, sorry, Mike. You've got the next pick. Is it Mike? Let me just have a double check quickly where we're sitting at. You're right, Mike. Yep.
I'm gonna go ahead and snag Trishelle here.
Yeah.
She's
I'm liking your
OG.
team.
Well, she's her last season she left and quit early, but the season before that she came in second place. So she's got final experience. That wasn't exactly an easy final either. Like it was in the desert, a lot of running sand dunes. So she has relative experience with being in like harder finals that I feel like most of these ladies might not. She's very close to Jemmy, and she has two of her Real World Vegas cast members there with her. So that might be a little bit of an alliance there. So I just think she's and she's coming into this game very close with Katie as well. They were in Katie was in Trishelle's wedding. I can't quite think of the name, but she was in the wedding, or vice versa. So they're close. So she's got pretty much connections all over this game. So I'm gonna take Trishelle here. Mm-hmm.
I would have picked Trishelle a lot higher. Because she does look physically in really good shape. She's done 2 wins. She's had 2 losses in eliminations. Again, she knows what it feels like to be down there. The one thing that makes me fearful of Trishelle is her relationship with Anissa, and some of the drama that happened, I believe, between her and Anissa in earlier seasons, and the fact that she's quit a season before. I personally don't like quitters, and I find it very, very hard to root for people that have walked out. I don't remember the exact reasons and why she quit and why she walked away, but we do see in the trailer, and I'm going to give you this opportunity, Chantal, I do see in the trailer that someone's going to quit again. So I'm putting 2 and 2 together, and I'm thinking, could it be her that's going to walk away again on those trailer episodes? Because it looked like someone with blonde hair when you see them walking off. So it's either going to be her or it's going to be someone else with blonde hair here. But I feel like if you've done it once, you could easily do it again.
I didn't see this quit little Easter egg. So I believe, Mike, you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe the reason why she quit was she said something racially motivated to Anissa. Was that how the fight went? And that she didn't really want to, like, can you remind me of the fight?
From what I've gathered, the fight, she kind of like accused Anissa of trying to be so many different things. I mean, you point out the racial thing too. That was obviously one of them. but she was just kind of trying to call. Well, she was talking about Anissa to other people, and I think, ironically enough, Jemmy is actually the one that snitched on Trishelle, which is kind of crazy because now they're like best buds. But she's the one who went and told Anissa that Trishelle was talking about her, and then Anissa confronted Trishelle in front of everybody, and then they kind of got into like a very awkward physical fight that wasn't a fight. So and then the next morning Trishelle ended up leaving. So that I didn't even think about that until you guys pointed that out. I totally forgot to draw the connections with Anissa and Trishelle for the first time since that whole thing.
So it was the one where Anissa called Trishelle Trashelle for the first time. So that's where the nickname came from. And like, I'm really fearful of the fact that like, that's the only reason I had her at the bottom of all of my picks, because I just feel like she's going to be that person. I hope I'm wrong, because I don't want to see anybody quit the show. I hate it when people quit the show. And I know that, you know, TJ looks very upset in that scene as well. And he says that, hope to see you never again, or hope to see you never, something like that. So I hope it's not her. For your sake there, Mike, but you know, for all we know, it could be one. There's a lot of girls here with blonde hair this season. I just put two and two together because of the fact that she's walked away from the show before. I thought it might be her, and I hope that I'm wrong. But if it's not her, she looks physically really in shape. She looks like, you know, she's extremely tall as well. She's got some length. I feel like she would do well in things like hall brawl and things like that. I don't know socially how she's going to do, but like you've mentioned, she has got some connections there now. So if she does have good connections with a bigger inner layer of people working together, then hopefully that keeps her in the game long term, and she hopefully doesn't walk away. Do you have anything extra to add there, Chantal, in regards to Trishelle?
I mean, I like watching Trishelle on TV. Like, she's usually pretty interesting. She usually has some sort of, you know, relationship with a guy. She's usually getting in a fight. She's usually getting a little bit too drunk. I think it's Kendall.
Oops.
And so I'm excited to see what she has to bring, because I've always been kind of just a fan of her-ish. But I can't rely on her, kind of like Janae. I can't rely on her on being a champion. She is willing to say, no, I'm not doing that. She's willing to be like, I quit. She's willing to just not compromise certain things, and is stubborn in that way. And so I can see her getting in a situation where she doesn't want to continue, or she doesn't even want to push herself to get that win. So I can definitely see her doing well if she has different challenges that allow her to move through pretty easily. We've already mentioned that she has some good social connections, but she also has some bad social connections as well. So if that bad blood comes up, Katie does seem to be coaching her around some bad blood. So maybe that's around the Anissa drama that was 15 years ago. 16. So if that's something that is going to affect the game, it may make her a target. She might have to go and defend herself. And I don't know if she will win in that many eliminations. Like, I don't know if she has that much heart for the game. But I like her though. And so I want to see her here, but I don't know if I'll pick her yet.
All right, Mike, you're back with your next guy pick here.
So I was more so leaning towards picking Ace, right, due to more familiarity. But I just can't quite get the thought out of my head of how sad he looks in his casting photo. Like, everyone's either smiling or has like a serious look of like kind of toughness, but his serious look just kind of looks like sad. Like, he just like bummed out. Like, so. And from what I've been seeing, people from what I can at least tell on Twitter, people seem to like Yes a lot. I mean, I personally don't have a ton of recollection of him. So I'm just going to go ahead and go with a sleeper pick here and just take Yes. I mean, he's got a cool name, so that's enough for me.
Yes, he does. Yeah, like for me, Yes would have probably been the next pick as well. I don't know him at all or any of his record. I think he only played in like 3 seasons. From memory, he won his first season and then came back for 2 other seasons, but underperformed in those seasons. But he does look like someone that physically is still in pretty decent shape, so he could do pretty well. So I don't dislike that pick from you at all. And I do think that if he does make a final, you know, with the body shape and that he has and the physicality that he has, I feel like he could run. He'd probably be he's got that, you know, that runner's physique You know, when
He's
you
got the
get people that
Jordan.
run endurance, they're normally quite lean, and he's quite lean. So I think if he gets there, he'd probably do pretty well. What do you think of Chantal? Do you have any inside info on him? Do you have any tea that you can spill?
I remember I had a crush on him back in the day. I don't know, that's some personal tea. I was gonna pick him next for sure. I don't remember, like, he's always was like kind of the good time kind of party guy. I don't know how strategic he was. I don't remember him being really strategic. I also believe that he won seasons where it was team based, so I don't know how he will perform on his own. But I think he's likable. I think that, you know, people are going to want to work with him. People are going to want to party with him. You know, in the current seasons, we have like the dome scene, the ice dome where they go out and party, whether it's just them. But back then, like, people were getting pretty drunk on a regular basis, and there was a lot of pool scenes and all that stuff. And so he was the fun guy that everybody wanted to hang out with. So I can see him being really set up well socially. And he's, yeah, as you've already mentioned, he is in really good physical shape. So I can see him doing well, and I can see him winning. So I think he's still a pretty good pick.
He doesn't look 43 on that photo. He looks like he could still be 28 or 30 or something like that. You know, he's aged pretty well, so I feel like he'll do pretty decent. Now, Chantal, keep me on track here. I'm doing the next pick.
Boy.
And I am doing the pick for a guy.
Yes.
So who do we have left on the board here? Let's have a quick look. So we've got a few people still on there. And I feel like there's one part of me that want to go with my heart because I want to see this person win the final. I just don't know how they would do in a final. And then there's another person who, if I didn't do my research on this person, I would have thought they could do pretty decently at the season. But you know what? I am going to go off the beaten track here because it's between two people for me. I'm going to go for something that's going to be interesting. I don't know if people would have expected me to pick this person at this point, but I'm going to go with Big Easy. And the reason that I'm going to go with Big Easy is because he looks in pretty decent shape since the last time that I saw him on the show. Like, you know, it looks like he's been working out since we've last seen him. He's had 6 challenge seasons. He's got 4 wins in eliminations and 5 losses. So he's got experience of being in those. He's only had 1 finals appearance as far as I'm aware, and that's the one that he gassed out in. So it's not a great look on him. But what I do like about him is he's got heart. So similar to Derek, I feel like he's someone that's got a lot of heart. And if you see him go in a hall brawl, he is going to absolutely demolish you. I don't know how he's going to do long-term here, but I feel like in between the people that we've still got on the board here, I don't want to give away some of the reasons why I haven't chosen other people in this spot. I do know Mike mentioned Ace. Laterian is still there. I was sort of thinking about Laterian as well. And then Tech, I don't really know at all. But I do know it's a bit of a wild card choice here, but I'm going to go with Big Easy. Mike.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's really going to want to see him necessarily in an elimination out of fear that it could be entirely size-based. I mean, we saw him skate to the final of Gauntlet 3 because nobody on his team felt comfortable going into elimination with him in the event that it had to be something kind of heads-on. So he's got like that kind of like, I don't want to say fear element to him, but kind of like, you know, depending on what the game is, like not many people are going to want to see him in like a hall brawl or anything size-based. So he's got that kind of like going for him. And he has lost some weight since the last time we've seen him. But I just can't shake the feeling of the Gauntlet 3 final and how that went down. So I don't know if – now, hopefully he corrects that, but I don't know based off just that past alone how he would do in a final now. I would like to think that he would do better, but without that, you know, knowledge, hindsight's 2020. So, you know, we'll just have to see how it plays out. But out of all the guys left, I'd say it's a pretty safe pick for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I like Big Easy, but that the only thing that I can remember is him in that final, and I would have just been so angry if he was if I was tethered to him. I would be so frustrated because he is that big guy, and you know, people are, yes, they're intimidated by his size, so he gets out of a lot of eliminations, but I think it also doesn't allow him to test certain parts of his physicality and what he's good at. So he doesn't really even know what he's capable of doing, and if he has to try something new out, it'll be for the first time in an elimination, you know what I mean? So the fact that he gets to avoid eliminations all the time, I don't think is actually good for him and becoming a better challenge player. So as much as like he could do well like by getting to the end, I don't know if he has the experience to really be able to do a lot of different things that could be asked of him in the final. But at the same time as well, I haven't really seen him do that many things, so I don't really know what he's capable of. So he could be a dark horse. It could be a thing.
Yeah, I look at him and I kind of look at that picture and he looks like the Undertaker. So I wouldn't want to take him on in any elimination, But I think with Big Easy, again, like I said, it's just one of those things. I do have a strategy here. I'm hoping you don't pick next who I want to pick, Chantal, because I've got another pick coming up. And the last pick for the men will be yours, Chantal. And then after that, we're going to have 4 people left, which means that we can pick either a male or a female for the last 3 picks. Chantal, who would be your final male-only pick?
I'm going with Laterian. He's definitely in good physical shape. He's not necessarily good in endurance, but he could have improved that and changed. I'm expecting every single one of these people to be coming back trained. Like they know better now. It's not like the summer vacay, as I've mentioned before. Like they are coming back to win $500,000. They're having this opportunity. I just don't see them sleeping on it. And so I do feel that Laterian is going to know his shortcomings, and he's going to know that he needs to get his endurance up and his climbing skills up. And, I do feel that he is going to make that decision to come and try to win. And so with that, I think he's going to put in the work for training. I always say that I enjoy the Road Rules players for the most part better than the Real World's original seasons. And so he's from Road Rules. And so he likes that element of like adventure and an element of, extreme adventure. And so I do feel, he's played in 3 challenges. I don't think he's made it to a final, if I'm not mistaken here, but he's funny. He's charismatic. People like him. So I don't see people really targeting him. And I really hope that he put in some work to get into good physical shape to be able to be a contender and get to the end and win.
Yeah, so Laterian would have been the person that I hoped you wouldn't pick for me for the next one. So it was between Laterian and Big Easy for me on who I would choose next as the guys. And I was hoping you pick someone else there and I maybe get him back. So it was a bit of a gamble on my side. I do like Laterian in this season. I do know that there's been some talk in the past that he's had popcorn muscles and that, he looks really physical, but he doesn't really, that doesn't translate to him actually doing well on the show. I do know that in his elimination record, he doesn't have a really good elimination record. I think he's lost all the eliminations he's been in so far, from what I could see. So that doesn't bode too well for him. But we do see a lot of him here in the trailer. There's a few times where he looks to be pumping his chest, being really excited. So maybe he won a daily. That looks really positive for him in the trailer. He is across quite a bit in the trailer. We don't see him talk in them, but we see a lot of action shots of him being visible in the trailer. So I feel like that's good and that's positive for him. I don't know much else about him, his personality and things like that. Mike, what do you think of this pick here with Laterian being chosen?
I definitely think he's got a little bit of a shot for redemption. I mean, I'd say that there's definitely a stigma, as you just said, of popcorn muscles. But I feel like in an element like this, it's kind of like fair game now, right? Like, I feel like everything from the past has kind of been like expunged, and now it's like, you might have not been seen as too great before, but it's kind of an even playing field now, I feel. So he could be a sleeper.
Age is the great equalizer.
Yeah. So
It is, because different people age differently. So, if you were someone that 10, 15 years ago, or however long ago it was when he played, didn't do too well because you were going up against absolute physical beasts at that time, it's not to say that those players that you played against, they've done the same things that you did later on to stay in shape. And, I did see on his social media that he was doing rope climbs without using his feet. So as someone that's done a lot of rope climbs and have done a lot of obstacle course training, most people who do rope climbs use their feet to actually lift themselves up. To do it the old school way where you don't even use your feet, that's pretty impressive. So clearly he's worked on some of those shortcomings since the last time he's played. And I don't think it was just because of the challenge. I just think that he looks like someone who likes to train outside of the challenge itself. He probably never thought he would come back, but here he is in another season. So I do like that pick. I think it's a good pick there, Chantal. Well done. And you've got the next pick as well.
Oh, shite. Oh, I was actually forgot. I had to do a
We've
girl
got
here.
Ace, Gisela, Tech, and Arisa, I believe it is.
I'm gonna go with Gisela. She might be causing a lot of drama. She might be in a lot of fights, but she's from the Road Rules, the Quest. She's never really made it past mid-season of the show, so that doesn't really bode well. But she's had 3 challenge appearances. I think she could do okay. I think she could do better than Arisa. I don't know. I'm not sure about Ace. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Gisela. Hopefully she'll be able to just kind of keep her mouth shut, get far along, and then, sneak out a win in the end. But I'm going for Gisela.
Yeah, so looking at Gisela, when I had to choose, I felt like she was a similar, and again, I don't know anything about her, but just looking at her physically and how she looks, I feel like she's kind of like another Anissa. So maybe she's going to be really good at the physical side of going into these eliminations and things like that. I obviously don't know anything about her ability on puzzles, so I don't know if she's going to be there, but she hasn't got the same record like an Anissa when it comes to how many challenges she's been on, how many elimination wins she's got. So it would have been one of those people for me towards the end here that I wouldn't know where to go either, in regards to who I choose. So I hope she does well. She does look like she's got a bit of a spicy sort of attitude in the trailer, and that she will bring a lot from a TV perspective. But that's pretty much as much as I can add on her. Mike, do you have anything extra on her? Do you maybe have any inside information that we may not be aware of?
Yeah, actually, something to watch out for is her and Anissa are actually it's kind of under the radar, but they actually, for the last pretty much decade or so, have had a very tight-knit, close relationship off the show. So that is definitely something to watch out for. I also think that she might bring a lot, maybe in terms of commentary, because that is definitely an important thing. I feel like she's someone who's probably going to have some really spot-on confessionals. Something about it, just from seeing her on social media, I think she's going to have a very entertaining presence. But from a competitor standpoint, I definitely think that she might fall under a similar Anissa category as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Okay. Well, that sounds like it's a pretty decent pick there for you, Chantal. I don't know if she's going to win the final for you, but definitely someone that will be a big presence. But I don't think that you get to the last 3 picks or 4 picks of the draft thinking that these are the people that are going to win the show. And we would love to be proven wrong, guys. So if you do listen to this at any point and you're really annoyed by the fact that we're choosing you this late, we hope we're wrong, and you guys do really well. We want everybody to succeed on the show. Now, we've got 3 people left. We've got Ace, we've got Tech, and we've got Arisa. I'm going to go, I don't feel hot on Ace either. I feel like if I didn't see the trailer, with him looking very defeated down in the elimination, I feel like they might have spoiled him getting eliminated. I would have probably gone for him because physically he looks in pretty good shape. I know he's never really done anything significant from what I've seen on his challenge career, but he does look like he could be physically in good shape. So if he were to make a final, he probably could run really well and do good at a final. But I'm going to go for someone that looks to be, I don't think this person's going to win, but hey, I've got to go for the characters here. I'm going to go for Tech. Tech looks like someone that is going to be a lot of fun on the show. He does look like he's going to be similar to Yasila. He's going to have really good confessionals. I know that in the past he was somewhat of a ladies' man. So maybe like a who was the Bear of back in the day? Hopefully not as toxic as Bear, but but that kind of person, that kind of presence. But I want to go for someone here that's going to be fun on these last picks. Mike, any inside information on Tech or anything from your side on him?
To be honest, I don't really have a whole lot of knowledge on him, and from my general kind of from what I've seen, is kind of the same thing. He's a little bit of a wild card here, in that we don't know what we're gonna get. But he seems like he could be funny. Like, I think that maybe he could bring some entertainment. But I definitely think that seeing is like, I think he's probably gonna be a target and thrown into a lot of eliminations. Like, hypothetically, if there was a hopefully this isn't the case, but if there was a gold skull thing that applied here, I think that most guys, like the heavy hitters, would say, send me in against him to get my gold skull, is how I would perceive that.
Yeah, not the most physically big or dominant person out there. I'm hoping he can run, because again, he's got that build. If he makes a final, hopefully he'll run really well.
Yeah, and he was on the same season as Ruthie, the same Real World season, Real World Hawaii. And so hopefully having a friendship in her would be useful. I never really considered him to be super physical. I think the last challenge appearance he was on was in 2000. So, it's been 21 years since he's like put himself in this kind of environment that we know of. And so he might be in over his head. I definitely could see people throwing him down, because if he hasn't kept up with a lot of social connections, people will just be like, well, he's an easy person to put down there that's not going to be that mad at us. So I don't see him avoiding that many eliminations. And I don't necessarily see him winning a lot of dailies. So his chances of getting to the final seem pretty slim to me, but he will be a character. He was always the life of the party, so.
Okay, so my criteria holds fast then with picking a great character for this spot. Who would you go for, Mike, on your last pick here? We've got two people left for you, an Ace. Yeah, and Arisa.
I'll go with Ace. Maybe he doesn't look too happy in his picture. We could turn that frown upside down. I think that if I've got a solid enough team right now to where I could feel comfortable with this pick, only because I don't have like a ton of knowledge on Arisa at the moment. I know that I have Trishelle on my team who they did the Real World with, but I'm gonna go with Ace. I know that he's a builder. He's very hands-on and crafty, so that might play a factor in some of these daily challenges where you have to be very hands-on. I'm sure he's got great grip strength. So I'll take Ace here.
Great. Chantal?
Yeah, I mean, like, out of the last two, for sure. Like, these last four were all being considered. I was considering Ace. I just didn't, for whatever reason, I was gravitating towards wanting him on my team. I don't know. It could be, maybe I didn't really recognize him being down there in the elimination, but maybe he had a mugshot that was out, like, recently, like a few years ago. I don't know. I just wasn't, like, excited by having him on my team. But he probably is in pretty decent physical shape. He could do well. I just don't know him that well. What else? What notes did I write about him? Did I write anything?
Yeah, I don't remember seeing anything of significance in regards to any like big wins or things like that he's had, or anything that stood out in regards to him making finals. Or
he made one final. He's been
Okay.
on 4 challenges. He started off in the Real World Paris with CT. So he's from that era. Yeah, I mean, he should be all right though. If he wins this one that he's down there, he should be okay. But
do you know, Mike, if he's connected in the circles of the challenge, and if there's other people that sort of know who he is? Because I feel like if he's a builder or if he's someone that's like a tradie in general, and I know I'm generalizing here, but it's not people who necessarily jump on social media all the time or think that they're going to go back on a show like the challenge.
He's definitely not social media savvy. I know that Actually, I think him and Derek reconnected recently.
Mm.
He might be in with Cyrus a little bit, because when I had actually early last week had Adam from his Real World on, and he was talking about Ace a little bit, and he said about him and Cyrus and them kind of being like chummy, so he might be in with Cyrus a little bit. But I feel like Ace is kind of like a nice guy that's just not, he just kind of like wants to play fair, and I feel like he could be kind of on that line of scapegoat a little bit. Like, we like you, but we don't like you that much. You're going down into elimination.
Come back and win it for us. Yeah.
That's what I feel like that's going to turn into, yeah.
And Arisa, I mean, it makes most sense why she's last pick here. She was always considered a layup. She was kind of always crying. She was always scared of doing a lot of different things. Obviously, years have gone by, and she's probably had more life experience, so maybe she's not going to be as scared of everything. I just don't know if she is going to be that challenge beast that's going to come back and win it. She was always quite thin, so she wasn't really muscular and athletic in the way that I think you would need to be a champion. And so I am worried that with age, she didn't also gain some muscle mass and some drive to win.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add for Arisa, outside of what you've just said. I don't know, Mike, if you've got any final words there on Arisa and why you didn't go for her as one of your picks.
Yeah, kind of like what Chantal just said. She's kind of on the thinner side. I definitely feel like she might be kind of similar in the tech aspect of, if we want to go down into elimination, she's ideally the matchup that we want. So I think she's probably, out of all the girls, probably the smallest in terms of just size. So that's not really playing to her strengths. But she, again, I mean, I don't know, can't speak to their relationships, but she's got two of her Vegas real world roommates there. So that could potentially help, but we'll see how that's going to play out. I'm interested in that.
Now, the question is, will Arisa be the wild card that ends up coming into the game? So how this is going to work for everybody watching or listening to this is that Arisa hasn't been picked by any of us three, but if we lose someone, the person who loses this first person in their draft pick with episode 1, Arisa will become their next automatic pick in their team. So she is still in the game, and she could still win it for one of us. There will just be a little bit of an asterisk next to our name if we do get the win with Arisa being the person that carries us all the way through the show. Now, we also have one additional question here. And Justin, thanks for being so active in the chat. Really love the questions. Who do you guys think would come back to a regular season? I'm going to let Mike start off with this one.
In terms of who would be most willing from the guys, I won't count Dorel because he's already been back and on their radar. So I'll just count from the guys that are just making kind of like their re-emergence. Probably Nehemiah and Derek K would be the two most. And those, Nehemiah more specifically, is the one that I have my eye on. And I'm glad that you pointed that out before about him kind of having that carrot of hanging over him a little bit, in the sense of, if he makes an impression here, he could potentially earn himself a spot back in the main challenge season. In terms of the ladies, Kendall is probably one I'd watch out for, and Kellyanne's obviously always an option as well. So I'd probably say those are the two most likely.
Yeah, and anyone that you want to add on there, Chantal, on that list? Or
I was thinking Kellyanne. I pretty much the same people. Maybe no, I was gonna say maybe Alton, but I don't think that he. I don't know. We'll see how well he does this season, and then if he does pretty well, maybe he will want to be re-immersed into the challenge universe. But I think I agree with you, Nehemiah. Derek's already kind of still in there. Yeah, I agree.
What do you guys think about Katie? Any chance Katie will come back and do more seasons?
No, absolutely not. If you go watch her episode, that I did with her, like, you would have pretty much been convinced that she wouldn't even been on the All-Star season. Like, she pretty much told me, like, nope, and then she re-emerged. I mean, I've had people on Twitter tagging me for the last 2 weeks, like, she lied to you. And I'm like,
money talks.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're getting a nice little appearance package, so I'm sure that's worth it.
Yeah. So.
All right, so let's have a final look here at our draft picks for the season. So I feel like this has been a lot of fun, guys, and we've had very different strategies being used here. Clearly, I'm the one that's the most out of the loop. So, there's some bragging rights up here. If I do, with my ragtag team of people that I put together, win this, I will let you guys know that maybe I am the knowingest person on the challenge season, even though I didn't know any of the previous guys. But I do feel confident with my team. There's a few people in there that I've seen play the show before. I feel like I've got the youngest team here. My strategy is for mainly going for the guys that are physical, mainly going for the guys that are a bit younger. So hopefully they recover a little bit better. Chantal, any final thoughts on your team? How confident do you feel from 1 to 10 that you're going to take this thing home?
I mean, I feel like Mike has the strongest team, to be honest. I think, I do feel like he does. My team, I think, is a bit wild card, but I really want to see all these people do well. And I think that I kind of have, the heart team. I have the team that has a lot of people that we never really thought we'd ever see again, and so we want to see them do well. And so I think I have the most rootable team, but I'm not 100% confident that I have the winning team here. But I'm happy to see how it plays out.
So Chantal, if you could steal one player from Mike's
Darrell,
team, who would that
come on. Obviously it's Dorel.
Okay, make it two, because we both will say
Dorel and
Dorel.
Ruthie I would want on my team somehow. Well, no, all the Dorel, Ruthie, and Mark were the 3 people that were in my top 3 for male and female. So those are the 3 people that I really wanted on my team.
So why am I sleeping on Ruthie? Because she didn't make that much of an impression on me when I was looking at her stats.
I just remember her being amazing, or being somebody that was really fought really hard, and so I like people that have that heart, and I feel like she seems like someone that would be training in Muay Thai and different kind of. I feel like she's been doing that kind of work outside of it. I don't know 100%, but I don't know. I just think that she's going to do a really good job. I think she'll.
Okay, Mike, so who would you steal in this? If you had anybody else that you could steal on the board right now?
If I could choose one person to steal, it would be Kellyanne. No questions asked.
Okay, so I feel pretty confident about that being my number 1 pick then, at least. Yeah. All right. Well, guys, this has been a lot of fun doing this draft pick with you guys. I am looking extremely forward to seeing this season and seeing people play that I've never seen play this game before. We will be back on Friday, and we will be doing at 8 p.m. the first recap for episode 1 of the Challenge All-Stars. We will be a day after the show comes out every week doing it. I believe there's 9 episodes in total. So we'll have Mike and Chantal back to break the episodes down, and we're all very excited for it. Now, if you did like this content, if you're still here and you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button, push the notification bell, make sure that you're here for the long journey through the All-Star season, and we will be happy to have you back. See you next time, guys. Thanks.